I chose to do my presentation on the poem Richard Cory by Edwin Robinson. It's pretty short, so I'm going to read it. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was gentleman from soul to crown, clean, favored, and imperially slim. He was also quietly arrayed. He was always human when he talked. He was still fluttered, pauses when he said, "Good morning," and glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought he was everything, to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked, and waited for the light, and went without meat, and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. I think Edwin Robinson wrote this poem to convey two important messages to the readers. The first message is that not everything is what it seems. I think this is super relatable in our lives today because of social media. It can be so easy to envy someone based on photos and short videos that portray a perfect life. Similarly, Robinson proves in his poem to never judge a book by its cover. No one really knew Richard Cory personally. They just knew him as the rich guy of town, and everyone assumed that he had a perfect life because of how he carried himself and his wealth, which leads to the second lesson, which is money can't buy happiness. Everyone envied Richard for being wealthy and assumed his wealth solved all of his problems and created a perfect life. However, we now know that Richard had his own demons and still went home and killed himself. Initially, the tone of the speaker is filled with envy, jealousy, and admiration. For example, in line 11, we thought he was everything. However, when it's revealed that Richard killed himself at the end, there's a shift in line 15. Went home and put a bullet through his head. The tone becomes sort of flat and indifferent, sort of a wry humor. The poem is filled with imagery that's used to describe the royalty and grace of Richard. So for example, clean, favored, imperially slim, quietly arrayed, fluttered pulses, admirably schooled in every grace. These descriptions help the reader envision Richard from his attire down to his walk, and make the reader also feel a form of envy. And symbolism is found throughout the poem. Right away, the title is called Richard Cory. In his name, there is rich, which is a symbol of wealth and royalty, and these symbols of wealth and royalty are found throughout the poem. So for example, he glittered when he walked, and glittered can be symbolic of gold, which is again a symbol of wealth and royalty. When he's being described, soul to crown is used as opposed to soul to head, which again, a crown is a symbol of what royals wear. And then also in line 12 and 13, so on we worked and waited for the light, and went without meat and cursed the bread. So waiting for the light references to the street lights, so working until super late in the evening when it was too dark to continue. And then the second part is went without meat and cursed the bread. So historically, only the wealthy and royals could afford to eat meat, while those who were less fortunate could barely afford to eat bread. And so therefore, again, there's another symbol of wealth and social standing and structures. And the language Robinson uses in his poem is crucial for the readers to understand the meaning of the poem. Each word that's used to describe Richard is put in there for a reason. It's clear that after reading this, that Richard was in some sense isolated. The text says he came to town dressed quietly, and he was always human when he talked. And this means that he never tried to act superior to anyone. He probably just wanted some form of human contact. Therefore, the language used helps the reader understand what the townspeople did not understand about Richard's suicide, that there was a price, and a human rather than in a monetary sense, that he paid for being perceived to be richer than a king.